Hello, everyone. My name is Amber Vittoria, and I am super excited to do this chat with you all today. I'm going to give it a minute or two to kind of let people join and get myself set up, and then I'll share my screen and we'll go through my chat about financially accessible art products, which I'm really excited. It's a little odd because I can't hear or see any of your comments or lovely faces, but I really just am super appreciative that you all are taking the time to chat with me. So I'm going to get set up and share my screen, and then we'll begin. All right, share screen. Okay, now I'm going to hit present. Perfect. Awesome. So hello again. I hope you all are having a really wonderful Monday. Where I am, I'm from New York, so you might hear some noises. You might hear my husband working upstairs. You'll hear the sounds of New York City. There's a lot of construction and helicopters, but it's a beautiful day outside, which I'm really excited about. And it's a great day for a chat. So a little bit about me. My name is Amber Vittoria, and I am a professional illustrator. Majority of the work that I do focuses on femininity and the female form, and I do a lot of brand collaboration. So a lot of my work tends to be a bit more corporate, though I do also do a lot of personal work. I love to start all of my chats with these two lovely childhood photos of myself. I feel like sometimes when we either pre-pandemic go to conferences or now in the pandemic have video chats, it's kind of hard to connect the human to the person presenting. So this is me and some lovely acting and modeling photos of myself when I was younger. The one on the left of Me and the Flower was a preschool play that we did. I don't remember which one this one was, but I was very terrified to actually be up there and be in the show. So I always like to look back on that and laugh now that I do talks and things in person and virtual now. And then the one on the right is just a picture that I love of myself when I'm younger. So that's me. I'm Amber. And a little bit about my work. I know I dove into it briefly, but my work is very colorful. It focuses on femininity and the female form, and it aims to dismantle the societal stereotypes that are set upon women. And this is some of my earlier work from, I would say maybe like 3 to 5 years ago. Some is a little newer. The copyright 2021 is from last year. But I love to leverage bold color and form to storytell. So I feel that when people look at my work, they're drawn in and invited to kind of have those a little bit more uncomfortable conversations that a lot of my pieces discuss, whether it's something about how women present themselves physically with or without body hair, or if it's something a little bit more emotional about feeling a range of feelings. I feel like sometimes our society kind of puts women into a specific box of how we're supposed to feel and how we're supposed to express those feelings. So I really like to push those boundaries and create work that is relatable to people that are looking outwards in, and for those that don't relate to it, to hopefully open up a conversation that invites them to have that uncomfortable chat that they haven't had about how society perceives women. This is a bit more recent work. I feel like as I've grown as an artist, my forms have become a bit more abstracted. I think that's just because as I've grown as a person, I feel that within my own body, sometimes the way I feel about myself physically and emotionally is a bit more abstracted as I get older. So I wanted to kind of put that into my work. And these pieces are both personal and brand collaborative pieces. So the two, if you can see my mouse, the two on the bottom left are pieces that I did for Facebook, which was really lovely. I did an in-house residency last February, right before the pandemic started. My last week at Facebook was the week before everything shut down in New York. So that's a bit wild to think back on. And the goal of that piece was to create, of that project was to create empathetic pieces and portraits of women that I could hang throughout the office so employees of Facebook could kind of see and relate to them. Unfortunately, no one really got to see them because everything shut down. However, a friend of mine just started working at Facebook, and he sent me a photo of a postcard with that artwork on it. So it's really nice that, people are still seeing that work and hopefully can relate to it, even though they are all working from home. But overall, these pieces are a step towards abstraction, and hopefully will kind of lean into the idea of that the human form is just very much a vessel, and it's how we perceive ourselves and how we carry ourselves that makes those pieces. So that's a little bit about my work. Also, apologies, my husband is also on Zoom, so if you hear him, we don't have doors in our apartment other than to exit and for the bathroom. So if you hear a male voice in the background, that's who it is. So to the point of our topic, why financially accessible art products? This is something that I started to get into when I started freelancing full-time as an illustrator. I used to work predominantly as an art director in-house and at agencies, and then freelanced on the side. And when I got into fully becoming an illustrator, the number one question a lot of people that followed me online would ask is, oh, I really love your artwork. Like, I love your paintings, I love your drawings, but it's just something that I can't afford. Do you sell or offer anything that's a little bit more accessible financially? And that's really where I started to think, well, no, I didn't have anything. I only had my drawings. But it forced me to brainstorm, like, can I do more accessible prints? Can I do products? Can I collaborate with different brands and put my artwork on packaging? Can I put my artwork out in the world in a way that other people can consume and appreciate it and own a piece of it without having to spend an insane amount of money to own an original piece? So that's kind of where the idea came from. And it was a goal of mine since, I would say, 2018, 2017, to start incorporating this into my practice. And over those last few years, I'm pretty happy to say that I have. And that allows people that love my work, that love viewing it digitally, that they can also view it in person, which is really lovely. Ooh, there we go. So a few quick examples of what financially accessible art products could be are art prints, brand collaborations, and then artist collaborations. And all three of these things are kind of the three big tent poles that my products fall under. Art prints is a really great example. Some artists will do limited edition prints where they sign an edition each of their works, but because of the volume of my work, I feel that that wasn't the best solution for me. I tend to create as much as possible. My work is very quick in nature. So to do limited edition prints of all of the works that I have, it would just completely fill my apartment with prints. So I opted for a bit more of an accessible option, not only for me in terms of financially having to front those prints, but also for people that wanted to buy prints from me in various sizes. I use a platform called Society 6, and it's been really lovely to see people buy prints that are larger if they have the space and the income, or smaller if they don't and they just wanted a little piece that really resonated with them. That has been a really great way for people to accessibly afford some of my artwork. The second is brand products and brand collaborations, which I'll dive into with some visual examples in a second, but that's partnering with a brand that either sells a physical product or sells something that has packaging that can allow for illustration or for a special moment or a special limited edition print or postcard. That can then be inserted into that package. And that's nice because a lot of the time, if it's for sneakers or if it's on vitamin supplements or if it's on a t-shirt, these are things that people usually will eventually need in their life and get use out of. So it kind of plays off of that that double need of wanting the artwork and having it a part of your world, but also having it on an object that you will eventually need to buy anyway. And then the last one is collaborating with other artists. I also love doing this, especially if it's something where I and that other artist are fronting the bill to make the artwork. It allows us to kind of split the cost, and then it also doubles up on advertising because now you have two platforms and two people that are putting this out into the world that can hopefully help sell that product. So for artist prints, I love doing paintings. I also love doing risograph prints, which is the image on the left. Both are really fun and they kind of dive into the ideas behind my work. And to be able to sell prints in various sizes and on different objects, whether it's on canvas or on metal or in a framed print. The beauty of Society 6 for me has been to be able to allow all of those different options so they fit within the home of the person that's buying it. I'm an artist that is of the thought process that I would very much love the artwork to fit within somebody's home. And I'm not as precious with the sizing and the editioning and the paper quality, even though Society 6 does do archival quality prints. It's something for me that I'm a little bit more flexible on, knowing that somebody can love and appreciate a work that I've made that resonates with them and they can have that in their home. And everybody's different. I have a lot of artist friends that are of the opposite way of thinking, that they very much like to control the edition numbers and control the paper, and they want to have a say in that printing process, whether it's screen printing or risograph printing or offset, whatever works best for their artwork. I feel that there really is no wrong way. You have to do what feels right to you. But I definitely think that offering some form of prints is definitely a great way to be financially accessible to those that love your work that can't afford an original. The second is brand products. So this is a bit more of a visual, and I'll go through each of these. To be able to put my artwork on physical objects has been really wonderful. Some of those objects you pay for, and others kind of come as like a gift with purchase or come as a packaging. And it allows people that love my work and love what it stands for to kind of be able to support me in an indirect way, but then also have an object that they'll get use out of. So starting on the top left, this is another series that I did for Facebook. And before the pandemic hit, employees were able to take these posters home, whether they put it in their cubicles at work or if they put it in their apartment at home. I really wanted artwork that represented women within the workplace, especially in a tech workplace, and to be able to have people take those home and enjoy them was really important to me. The Otherland packaging, the candle, which is the top row, second from the left, where my mouse is, if you can see it. Otherland candle was actually one of my first product collaborations, which I'm really proud of. And it had a really incredible response, which encouraged me to then continue to make more products. So the candle is really lovely because everyone could use a candle, in my opinion, and to have the artwork on top of the box that then people could kind of take apart and put in a frame and hang it in their home, to have that pattern on the physical product itself. It does that double payoff of being able to support an artist in their artwork, but also buying a product that you can get use out of. And that's something that over time, especially on social media, has been the number one thing that I get in terms of messages is how can I, support you and your work in a way that, fits within my world and within my budget. And then moving into the third image from the left, and then the second image from the left on the bottom, creating artwork that lives on packaging for different products, whether it's supplements or creams, is also a really fun way to apply artwork and keep that financially accessible, especially for Daily Love and for Populum. Both are incredible brands that have a huge audience. So to be able to introduce myself to their audience and then also have my audience kind of see their work and be able to buy a supplement or buy a hand cream that they might need, again, serves that double payoff. Then the image on the right is for Nordiska Campagnette, which is a luxury brand. And this is something that I want to get into a bit more is I think my screen might be hiding it. So let me move myself down here. So this is really lovely because, and I've done this for a few brands more recently since I've put this presentation together, is putting my artwork on bags. That way, if someone is going into that store and they're buying whatever they need to buy, they can have my artwork on a bag, and that's at no cost to them. And I think that's a really beautiful way to introduce myself to clients that may not follow artists online or may not know of my work, but also for those that do follow me and do know my work, that they can easily cut this bag out and put it into a frame or hang it on their wall or just keep it because it brings them joy. And then at the bottom left, And then these, actually, I'm going to move myself back up again. These three pieces, the puzzle, the dress, and the socks. This is kind of getting into wearables. So clothing and socks, and then puzzles, activities, or games are other great way to kind of put your artwork on the forefront of physical products that people might need. Working with Happy Socks was really incredible because they have a huge audience. So to be able to kind of have my work resonate with people that, again, may not know who I am or what my work stands for is really, really lovely. So for all of these brand products, the number one question I get is, well, how do I work with these brands? How do I reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? In the beginning of my career, I definitely did a lot of outreach. I think almost all of these projects outside of Facebook and Ordinary Habit, which is the puzzle, I would say I reached out to them. I just sent an email introducing myself, saying I'd love to work together. Perhaps we could work on a product collaboration. I'd love to make a candle or socks or work on your packaging. And that's usually how I get these projects, which has been really nice. But with time, and now that my work is out there a little bit more, folks will then reach out to me and offer to collaborate with me on a product that they might be releasing in the near future, which is really awesome. There we go. And then the last piece, I'm gonna move myself again over here, is artist collaborations. Now, these are all collaborations with other artists or makers, and this is probably one of my favorite ways to have my work and be out there in different ways. I think that working with other artists is a really lovely way to kind of merge styles and merge ways of thinking, and you kind of have a little bit more say on what the product is and how it lives, which I love. So for the two scarves, they are with a company called Clay Kerchief. The owner is Olivia. I think she's a one-woman shop, which is incredible. And her pieces are beautiful. They're small, I would say like 24-inch by 24-inch scarves, maybe 16 by 16-inch. And to be able to work with her on creating artwork that lives specifically on these kerchiefs has been really nice. It's something that people have been asking me for a while. So when I found her on Instagram, to reach out to her and say, do you want to work on like a small collection of illustrated scarves, to be able to kind of go back and forth with her directly and have these two products come out of it was really wonderful. And then for this large picture in the center, this is with a company called And Again. They are an incredible, incredible company. It's just a partner of two, Morgan and Greg, that they make clothing from either dead stock fabric or from recycled fabric that they've found at different local secondhand shops. And their work is incredible. And I've done a collaboration with them before, I'd say 4 or 5 years ago now, with my artwork embroidered on jackets. But more recently, I painted on this canvas that they ended up finding in Los Angeles, I believe in a dead stock shop. And they mailed it to me because it was during the pandemic. And I painted on it, and then I mailed it back to them, and then they cut and sewed it into these beautiful limited edition hats. So to be able to kind of show a little bit of my artwork and my colorful style on a product that people can wear every day and love was really lovely. And then last but not least, and this is something that I want to get into more as time goes, is creating sculptures or like 3D toys. I believe it's classified technically as toys, but for me, they're smaller sculptures. This piece is about, I'd say like 6 inches by 8 inches. And to be able to see my work come into a physical object is really lovely, just because majority of it is 2D. To make something that is 3D, again, is a little bit more accessible because it's an addition versus an original painting or drawing. And then it also lives in someone's physical space, so they can walk around it, they could put it on a shelf, like it could become a part of their space in a way that's a little different than an illustration or a painting. I'm gonna move myself back. This is wild that I could keep doing this. All right. So there are a few questions that people usually ask me whenever I chat with them about making financially accessible art objects. I think this jumped up. Yes, it did. There we go. The number one question is, how do I get started? And I think that the easiest barrier to entry to kind of hop over is to get yourself set up on a site that does print on demand shipping for art prints, if that's something that you're interested in. So for art prints, I would say websites like Printful or Society6. There are a few others as well. Being able to upload your work and then set your profit margins and have that readily available is an incredible way to get started, because it doesn't cost anything to you other than your time to make sure that you're curating the pieces that you want to sell and that you're putting a profit margin that you feel comfortable with. And you also don't have to worry about customer service for a majority of these platforms in case something is printed wrong or gets damaged in the mail. That's something that these companies will cover for you, which is a huge time saver. As someone that also sells her own paintings, it's really tough to maneuver if something gets damaged in the mail. So it's really nice to kind of have that lifted off of your plate. I think that that's probably the easiest barrier to entry. Beyond that, if you want to make your own products with other artists, I would say reach out to artist friends of yours that you might want to make something together with, and do the research together and kind of see what products may make the most sense to you. And then lastly, if you want to work with different brands or different companies, start doing cold outreach or reaching out into your network and seeing who is open and willing to do some brand collaborations. So the next one is, what are the upfront costs, if there are any? So kind of circling back to having prints on demand, there are no upfront costs other than your time, which is really lovely. For collaborations that you do with brands, usually the brand will front those costs of the production and the shipping, customer service of that product, and you'll be paid for your artwork, whether it's licensed or bought copyright. So usually that's also not an upfront cost. But for the ones that you want to endeavor onto yourself, so like if you are collaborating with another artist or if you're working for yourself, that's where you'll have to front those upfront costs. So for the scarves that I did with Olivia, because that is her company, we split the difference of the cost to produce them, and then she handled all the shipping and fulfillment, and then she paid me half of the profit after shipping and fulfillment. So there are a lot of different ways, but I would say that if it's tough for you to kind of start with an upfront cost, doing print on demand or reaching out to brands is a great way to get started. There we go. I feel like my computer keeps jumping on its order. Another question that I get is, do I have to alter my style for an art object? Sometimes, yes. Especially for the bucket hats, I didn't include any figurative elements for that just because they didn't really land on canvas. But if altering your style is something that you don't want to do, I would say try to find products that make sense with the current style that you have. For me, I like to flex a little bit and push what my style is depending on the product, because that allows me to learn. I'm always looking for a learning opportunity to see and discover something about myself that I wouldn't have experimented with if I didn't make artwork for that object. But for those that are very solid in their style and they aren't wanting to waver, I would kind of retroactively find products that fit that style instead of kind of being open to different products and figuring out how your work can fit on that product. Neither is wrong, but I would say know yourself first before embarking on making an art object, whether it's with yourself, with an artist friend, or with a brand. The next question I get is, how do I market these objects? So for Society6, I'll use that as an example for my prints. I have grown a following on social media that I often market to, reminding people when those prints are on sale, or if I add new prints to my Society6 offering. That's a great way, using social media. Instagram, I just post to my followers. Pinterest is another great one. I feel like that's a sleeper social media platform. You just post your work on there and link to your website, and eventually it's a little bit slower. People will find it, they'll save it to their board, and when they can afford it, they'll purchase it. That's a great way to get discovered as well. For products that you do in collaboration with other companies or brands, they usually will have a PR or marketing team or social team that could kind of help amplify those objects that are being sold, which is really wonderful because it kind of saves you a little bit of that energy. And then, like I was saying earlier, for any art objects that you make in collaboration with other artists, you can kind of both share those on your social channels or share them in print if you want to have, if you want to reach out to different publications to have it written about as well. So there really are numerous numbers of ways to market your products once they're made, and none of them are wrong, which is really nice. I prefer social media. I feel like that's a product of me and my age, but with time, that might change. I feel like interviews and publications are also really lovely as well. And then the last question that I usually get is, how do I license my work for art objects? So a lot of the collaborations that I make with brands or companies, it's usually a bespoke piece. So I will make a piece specifically for them, and then the licensing will look something like 1 to 5 years within X number of pieces printed and digital and out of home advertising. And usually that feels right. Sometimes companies would like to buy the copyright outright, which is a little bit more rare, especially for art objects, but that can happen. But usually my rule of thumb is, if it's something new that you're making for the brand, the license should be exclusive. And I would say up to 5 years feels comfortable, unless you're making an insane amount of product that you're selling. And then if it's a piece that a brand comes to you and they want to use a piece that you've already made, or their budget might be a little bit lower and it only can accommodate something that's been previously made, I usually make that a non-exclusive license, again, for that time period of like 1 to 5 years. So that is it. I know that you all might have so many other questions, so please feel free to reach out to me via email. My email is on my website, which is ambervittoria.com, or reach out to me on Instagram. I respond to my Instagram DMs a little too much. So feel free to send me a message or an email, and I'd be happy to chat more. But I hope that your takeaway from this is to not be afraid of putting your artwork on something other than a canvas or a piece of paper. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for spending